Coach, is Goff right about Mahomes? Not saying he's the best quarterback. He's saying he's one of the toughest to defend.
I was trying to figure out whether Goff has ever played defense ever in his life to make that statement in terms of who the toughest guy is to defend and how much background he has on putting together a scheme.
Right.
And I don't know how much he was watching the game last week.
Coach, I love you. I came in this morning and said very similar
but you've got, so remove who said it, because you've got a lot of experience putting together schemes. So what's your opinion?
I think that Drew Brees right now is as tough as anybody to defend. He's got a 10% higher completion percentage. He's been sacked 50% less than Mahomes has been sacked, and he's got 9 less interceptions. So you're talking about a guy who's been incredibly efficient in an offense that is going to provide shifts and motions and multiple personnel groups, who understands coverages. So if you disguise, he still has a chance to get the ball to the right place. What Mahomes does is electric, and he has the ability to make plays outside the pocket, and he can run. There's a lot of exciting things that he does, but from a full scheme perspective, Drew Brees is as tough as it comes. And look, dealing with Tom Brady, if you're going to put together a cohesive defensive plan and try to fool him and play chess, he's much harder to deal with.
In 2018, Brady is not harder to deal with than Patrick Mahomes. And you can't even use the interception numbers in that regard, because Brady, through his first 7 games of the year, turned the ball over every single game. Now, his last 3, he hasn't. And his last 3, as he's been more cautious, he has had 1 total touchdown. Like, the Drew Brees thing, while I disagree with, given the volume that Mahomes is putting up, given the different looks they have as far as personnel-wise, I think the better talent around him, I do think he is harder. But the Brees is hard to argue with because he's having such a historic season. But if Pat Mahomes this year doesn't win the MVP, it'll be the best year any player has ever had at the position without winning the MVP. Dante Culpepper's year is a year I would compare it to, because that was Peyton Manning's amazing year. Absolutely. But this year, we're now through 11 games. Pat Mahomes is on pace for 54 touchdown passes. That would be 2nd all-time. 5,300 passing yards. That would be 3rd all-time. A 118 rating. That would be 5th all-time. Like, I understand the
look, I guess I wasn't trying to be a prisoner of the moment. I was trying to look at the whole picture of the quarterbacks and what they presented. And yeah, you can argue the MVP, who's had 2 really big games and lost both of them, you could argue that that's definitely a very compelling argument.
Yeah,
I was just trying to look at it as more of a global perspective.
Well, I would say that the road game at the Chargers is a really big game. I think they won that. The road game at the Steelers strikes me as a big game. They won that. The game against Cincinnati, when Cincinnati was at the time 5-2 or 5-3, and they beat them by 35 points, they won that. Like, they have had 2 games that they lost.
But this game was supposed to be the game of the year.
And all they did was put up 51 points.
I know, and then there was a 2-minute drive. Well, no, there were 2 2-minute drives at the end of the game that he threw.
Interceptions on both. Interceptions on both of them.
All right,
I mean, Coach makes a good case, but when you're talking about who I want to face, in absent of Jared Goff, but if you're a defender, if you're a defensive coach, one thing that Coach is terrified of, he's terrified of the unknown things that he believes that Drew Brees and Tom Brady are going to know. That the problems with a certain defense, the problems with certain coverages, they're going to know those things. Is Patty Mahomes going to be a star, or is he going to have a season like Dante Culpepper did? You know, like Deshaun Watson. He had a great half a season, but he hadn't been able to duplicate that. So Coach is going by what these guys have done, also what they've done under heat, and I know I got some things I got to throw at them where there is a weakness. I know they're going to know that, because in talking to Drew Brees, I'm like, Drew, how the heck can you get more accurate as you get older? He said, Chris, I know every weakness in the coverage. I know every pattern in our passing tree that we're going to do, where I need to go to the hot, how to get rid of the football so I don't get into trouble. And those types of little small details, you're not going to know that when you have not played. So the totality of formation, speed, and what Kansas City gives me compared to what Drew Brees and Sean Payton, I can understand why you make a case for both of them. But you also have to understand, in playoff football, these great quarterbacks, understanding where their weaknesses, that kind of intel is more valuable than just pure talent. And by the way, these guys with this information, they're also very, very talented.
And it's not a knock on Mahomes. He just hasn't. In order to get experience, you have to go through it.
No, of course, right. Which
every quarter, Tom Brady, we criticized him after 3 Super Bowls. We kept criticizing, oh, man, this is a Belichick. Belichick's more important. They won 3 Super Bowls. They could have had any quarterback. So why wouldn't we do it? We're just right in the moment with Patty Mahomes. So he's getting the same thing Deshaun Watson got last season.
Right, and the reason that, and as we get further into the season, like we get to a point where the only fair criticism of Mahomes is things that are out of his control because he can't control time. He can't make himself a 5-year pro. He can't get the 80 games that you would like to see because he's in game 12 of his career. He's in game 11 of the season. What I do know is this, that through 5 games of the year, when he was starting to become an MVP candidate, we were saying, let's see once they have a month's worth of film on him what he turns into. And through 5 games, he was averaging 300 yards passing per game, 14 touchdowns, 2 picks, a 113 rating. Since then, 350 yards passing a game, 23 touchdowns, 8 picks, and a 122 rating. So once they've gotten film, he's gotten better.
Nick, Randy Moss scored 17 touchdowns his rookie year. You know what I told him? I need to be able to see if you can do it over the long run. I need to see if you can do it 2 years in a row. It's all a part of professional football and us evaluating, but we have had Dante Culpepper. We have had guys have amazing seasons, but not go on to amazing careers. So it's not as if we have not seen this before.
Well, never quite to this level. Not quite to this level. We've never seen a guy have this type of season and not go on to a great career. That hasn't happened. And Dante was, it wasn't his first year, and he suffered a traumatic knee injury.
Yeah, so Dante had 2 years.
Absolutely, but for him, it was. I feel it was a traumatic knee.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen to his arm.
Absolutely.
When I look at greatness and guys that you'd want to play against or not want to play against, I think of, okay, how would this player work on another team? And I think if you put Tom Brady in Kansas City, his numbers would be off the charts with those skill players. Now, my question is, if you put Mahomes in New England, what do his numbers look like? And as you move guys around, do they have the impact because of who they are, or is some of this a function of what's surrounding him? He's got a ton of supporting cast there that really helps him be successful.
And he obviously helps the supporting cast, which are also, aside from Travis Kelce, mostly young players, mostly guys that are also as far...
I mean, you got Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt is the same draft class as Patrick Mahomes. Tyreek Hill is 1 year.
It doesn't matter
I'm not saying how old they are. They're very, very talented players.
Okay, right. And so it's just very interesting to me. Like a running back and a wide receiver, we know, despite a lack of experience, they are talented, really good players, which I agree with. With a quarterback, it could be a fluke. We need to see more of it. Like,
we're not saying he's a fluke, Nick. We're going to do this with everyone. We did the same thing with Deshaun Watson. If there's someone coming out next year, the kid from Oregon, Greer from West Virginia, man, if my man comes out from Ohio State, this is what we do. This is how you analyze pro football, and we're not going to throw him into the Hall of Fame. But you know the reason why? Because we've seen so many people fail. He's off to a tremendous start. So what? So what? So what?
But because for me, when you mentioned Randy Moss, you told him go do it again. At week 12 of that year, I think you were confident that at least that season, he's going to continue this.
No, I didn't know he was going to be one of the all-time.
No, I'm just talking about that year.
I didn't know.
Because I'm not. People keep saying putting him in the Hall of Fame. No one's doing that. Well, the question is for this year right now. And what I do know is that if a quarterback comes out, if it's the kid from Oregon, whomever, and he throws 50 touchdowns his first year as a starter, I will also sit here on the set and say that guy's a star.
But that's what you should be doing. Coach Mangini and I, we've been in the league too long. We should be doing exactly what we're doing. You know the reason why? Because we've seen guys have a good half a season. We've seen guys have a good year. We've seen guys have 2 years.
Well, Dak Prescott was an MVP candidate a few years, 2 or 3 years ago.
You told me he's the greatest rookie I have ever seen. I said, Nick, pump your brakes. And what happened? Car crash.
Yeah.
Derek Carr, remember when we were talking about his MVP season? And the other part of defending a guy is not just the plays that they make, but the opportunities that they give for you to make plays. plays. And that's where I have a concern with Patrick Mahomes. When you're getting sacked 5% of the time and you're holding the football, and look, we could say the 5 turnovers is a definite outlier, but which way is he going to continue to trend? Is he going to give the defense opportunities to make plays?
We could talk about this all day, but we got to take a commercial break and pay our bills. Coach, stick around. Coming up is Thanksgiving a must-win for Dak and the boys. That's next on First Things First.
I don't know who she is, but she's all right.